Hey everyone, how's it going? So we're finally done with the login and register system now, so users can successfully create accounts to our site. And what we're going to do now then is get started on the actual main part of our site. That is the part of the site they see when they're signed in. The exciting stuff. So what we're going to do first is give this, show this main layout some attention, because it doesn't look very good right now. There's not a whole lot going on here. So what we're going to do is go back to the main layout.pug file, because remember, this is the main layout file is what will be included on all the pages. It will contain like the navigation bar and shared elements. So let's go to there and kind of build a foundation. So we're going to go to the body tag, and right at the top, above this block content, we're going to add some HTML, or rather pug code, which converts to HTML. Remember, the block content is where we inject our other pages. So for example, on the home page, you just extend this main layout, and then you set the content as whatever you want, and it takes this and puts it in there. So that's what the block content is, in case you've forgotten. But what we're going to do in the body tag, if I tab across to it, remember, your tabs are very important with Pug, so make sure you get the tab alignment correct. We're going to create a div called wrapper. Now, if you remember, when you don't specify an element name, it defaults to a div, so you don't need to say div.wrapper, you can just say .wrapper. And then underneath that, we're going to do .row. Now, row is an element which will be styled from the Bootstrap code, because we have included bootstrap.css, so it will give that some style. And then what we'll do is we'll create 3 elements. So the first one is going to be the nav. The second one, if I press enter to go to the next line, is going to be a div with the class main section container. And then after that, there's going to be one more div, and it's not going to have any class right now. We'll come back and add the class in just a second. So for now, I will just write div. You do have to specify div if you want a div that doesn't have a class, because otherwise there would be nothing there. So we have just created an empty div there. So let's save that. And because we've only changed the pug code, we don't need to restart the server. We can just refresh the page, and you won't see anything, of course, but if I inspect on that, open up the body, you should see those 3 elements. So inside the wrapper, which we just added, we've got a row one now, and you can see we get some style from the Bootstrap CSS file. So that's why it's already styled for us. And then we've got the nav, we've got our div, and we've got our empty div down there. Okay, great. What I'm going to do is just add a little bit of content to those 3, just so we can actually see something. So in the nav, I'll just add a span, and I'll just say nav bar like this. Of course, we'll add the navigation items instead eventually, but this is just for us to see. This is going to say main section. Oops, this should be a span with main section as the text. And then I'm going to put some text on this. I'll just say span and then 3rd column. All right. So hopefully we should see that text now. We do. It's not spaced very well. That's why all the text is kind of flowing into each other, but that's okay. So let's go ahead and add some style to it. So in fact, what I'm going to do actually first is just take this block content and put it inside the main container. So take the block content part, and then just move it into the main container, because that is where it's going to go. So in fact, you can actually get rid of the span main section, because now the content will be there. So we will see something. If I refresh the page now, you'll see we have this part in the middle. So we've got 3 columns. We've got one here, and then one here. This one's flowing off the side of the page a bit, I know, but don't worry, we'll fix that. So the reason I've created 3 columns with some dummy content in is because I want to show you how we're going to style these. We're going to use Bootstrap's grid system to style these columns so that they are responsive, and as you resize the screen, they will change their size accordingly. So if you've never looked at the Bootstrap grid system before, it's really good. I recommend you go away and learn it on your own in more detail, because I'm going to kind of breeze over it. I don't want to spend too long on it because, like I said before, this isn't a UI course. It's not an introduction to web development course or anything like that. But I will explain it as I go, just maybe not in the amount of detail that it would be good for you to know, because that would just take far too long. But you will get a good idea of how it works just by following along with this. So just to summarize, I've got the Bootstrap grid system pulled up here, and I want to show you this real quick. If you need to see this yourself, you can just Google Bootstrap grid system and you'll get to this page. But essentially, the grid system allows you to split up the widths evenly or not evenly, just using some pre-styled classes. So the Bootstrap CSS file already has styled these classes, so you can essentially create this nice layout that responds to the width, and it can grow and shrink as it needs to just by specifying the correct classes. So how can I explain this? So each row has a width of 12 to share. So if you don't specify a number afterwards, it will just evenly split the two elements. So you can see here, we've got two elements in this row right here. And because they've just specified the same class, col for column, it's just divided them equally. So these both have a width of 6. If I scroll down to another one, let me find a better one for you here. This one, for example, they've specified 6 here, so col-6, which means because it splits into 12, there's 6 remaining. Now, when you don't specify a number like these two have, the two surrounding it, it will just divide whatever width is remaining between the elements evenly. So because this one specified 6, there's 6 remaining, so it splits that between those, which gives them 3 each, which is why these ones are smaller than the middle one, because the middle one specified 6. So even when we resize it, the middle one has a bigger width, and the others have the smaller ones. So essentially that's it. It needs to add up to 12. Just keep that in mind. So if I scroll down though a little bit further, you'll notice how we can specify more than one class. And this basically means that the SM means small. So on small devices, it will take up 3, but on larger devices, it will take up 6. Okay. You'll see how that works though now. So what we're going to do is use some of those classes. So for the nav, we're going to say dot col -2. So col2 is the Bootstrap class we're using here. So we've given this nav one 2 of the width, 2 of the 12 available. Okay, the main section is going to be the biggest one. So what we're going to do here is say col -10. So when you specify multiple classes in Pug, you join them on like this. You're not going to have a space, you're just going to join them on. So multiple classes are joined up like this. So if we had another class, we'll do it by doing a dot there and then writing the class. Okay, so this one's now got 10, which essentially means this one here has got no width left. So what I'm actually going to do is change this to 8. We will come back and give this a 10 later on, but you'll see how. So we're going to make this 8, and let's just make this one have a class, so col -2. So now we've got 8, we've got a 2 and a 2, so that adds up to 12, so great. And because we've now specified a class there, I can get rid of that div. Not that you need to, you can keep it if you want. But let me just refresh the page now, and you should see it's spread out a bit. So these are no longer pushed together. So if I resize the page, you'll see they grow and shrink. And this middle one has got 10 of the width, this one's got 2, and this one also has 2. So let me go back. Now, what if we wanted this nav to get a bit bigger as the screen got bigger? What we can do is say col I don't know, MD for medium, and then we can just say let's do 5. Okay, and then what we can also do on this one, because we now have different widths available, we can say col -MD -5 like this. So now what this means is on medium-sized screens, the nav will take up 5. The main section will also take up 5 because we specified it there on medium screens. And we don't have to specify anything on this because just by doing col -2, it means it will always take up 2. So let me just save that and refresh the page and show you what we have. So the nav bar and the middle column are now taking up the same amount of width on big screens. But if I resize it to a smaller size, you'll see how it's just shrunk. So this now takes up 2 again. This one's back to 10. But again, as soon as I get to a larger screen, it jumps, and now these two are taking up the same amount of width. So this is just a quick example showing you how the different classes can be used to accommodate different layouts. And we haven't had to write any CSS code of our own. We're using all the built-in CSS that comes with Bootstrap. So we're going to use these to handle the UI adjusting to different size screens, mobile phones, iPads, wide computer screens. So hopefully this will make our site look good on any device.